Hey guys, welcome. There are so many people that want to get started with game development, yet so few people actually manage to do it. My goal with this video is that by the end you will have everything you need to actually be one of those people that actually starts, learns, and eventually publishes a game. So let's get into it. And by the way, I'm assuming that you already have a game engine in mind for this. And if you're not sure which one to pick, I lay out the differences in detail in this video right here, so you can go check out that video and then come back here when you're ready. So you are just starting out, you want to make a game, and you have absolutely no experience. So where in the world do you start? Because there is so much to do. And I'm going to start by giving you what I can only call the most annoyingly true advice ever. And it's annoying because it's what you probably don't want to hear. But bear with me for a second. You need to start small. And that advice is everywhere for a really good reason, but I don't always think it's explained why that is so necessary at first. And if it helps, when I was new, I did not listen to this advice either. And now that I have some experience, now that I know better, I know that I would have learned a lot faster had I actually started small in the early days. So if you have two game developers and one of them works on a single project for an entire year, and the other one works on several small projects in that same year, which one do you think has learned more in that first year? And I promise you it is the one that worked on several smaller projects. And I'm not saying don't work on your dream game. I'm all about working on your dream game. I'm just talking about the early days when you're really learning how to create your dream game. Doing multiple small projects is going to make you a very well-rounded developer very quickly. I started learning how to make games because I wanted to build a game that I loved as much as I loved Hollow Knight. But what I discovered a little slower than I would have liked is that I wasn't yet skilled enough to make a game like that. Working on my game was slow, it was painful, and it was really, really discouraging for a long time. And working like that for a prolonged period is oftentimes, not always, but often how you will end up quitting a project. Small projects are just going to grow your skill set faster, especially if you go outside of your comfort zone and do something a little bit new with each one. And doing that is going to grow your confidence, which is much more important than I can even state. The next thing that's really going to help you in the early days and actually get you to the point where you have finished and published your game is to focus on your strengths. The reality is you cannot be a master at everything, not without decades of experience anyways. You're not going to go into this and become a master programmer and a master animator and a master artist and a master sound designer and music composer. It's just not going to happen. But chances are you have an area of strength, something you're really good at. And what's going to help you to stand out in the indie space is to lean on your strengths. You want to work on your weaknesses, absolutely, because you want to become well-rounded, but lean on your strengths. Those are going to become your pillars for your game design. Maybe you're great at coming up with unique stories, or maybe you're great at coming up with really amazing and unique game mechanics. Maybe you are great at animating. Remember I mentioned Hollow Knight earlier? The lead artist on that project came into working on Hollow Knight with like a decade of 2D animating experience under his belt. He knew what he was doing. And especially in the very early days, I would encourage you to collaborate with others to help you fill those knowledge gaps that you have while you're rounding out your skill sets. Or if you don't know anyone else who makes games, then you might want to utilize assets from online until you grow in confidence. To make games with no experience, it's really important that anything that's going to make the process of making games easier for you to do it. And with that in mind, what's going to be really, really helpful for you is joining an online community. You can share progress on what you're working on, you can ask questions from people that have more experience than you, and you can just get inspired from other people's ideas as well. I promise you, as you're learning to make games, you are going to get stuck. And I don't just mean for an hour, you're going to get stuck for days. And if you have an online community where you actually feel comfortable asking questions, you can potentially go there and save yourself days of banging your head against the wall and getting nowhere. One of the things I remember most when I was first learning game development is I even said it to Nikki. I said, I wish I had a teacher or a mentor. That's why I'm so grateful for today's sponsor, Zero to Mastery, because what they offer is exactly what I was looking for in my early days, which is guidance. Except it's actually quite a bit more than that, because what they offer is a complete roadmap to a career in game development from the very beginning. So even if you've never touched a line of code before, you're going to be just fine. Their Become a Game Developer path starts with a really in-depth Unity course where you'll create a full 3D RPG complete with combat systems, quests, dialogue, rewards, and cinematics. And once you finish that, they're even going to teach you how to get hired. They have classes on acing interviews and crafting the perfect resume. And what I really love about this, because I am a hands-on learner, is they give you practical assignments like applying for 5 jobs that you're actually excited about. We talked earlier about joining an online community. And when you join their classes, one of the first thing that you're going to do is go onto their Discord server and find yourself an accountability partner. They have nearly 500,000 members, so you're not going to have any trouble finding someone. They also have teachers and TA in the server to help answer any questions you might have. If I could start my game dev learning journey over, this is the path that I would have taken. It's comprehensive, it's thoughtfully designed, it's up to date, and it offers really good value for the price. And if you use the coupon code FRIENDS10, then you'll get an additional 10% off. So if you are serious about pursuing a career in game development, then this is the perfect place to start. The link is in the description, so check it out after this video. Now, everyone is different, and I know that some of you out there probably already have pages and pages in a notebook somewhere of ideas of what you want your game to be. And some of you out there are a little bit more like me, where you avoid planning as much as possible because it's not the fun part of the project. However, I cannot overstate the importance of planning out your game on a game design document. You can Google what that is. There are templates all over the internet. And I don't say this because you can't finish your game without it, because you absolutely can. I don't gravitate towards game design documents myself. I like to keep ideas up here because when there are ideas I'm excited about, I don't forget about them. So at least for me, the game design document is not so much about actually being able to finish your game. It's about helping you avoid scope creep. And this might be a little bit controversial, but I'm gonna say it anyways. I don't necessarily treat a game design document like it is law for my game. I like to leave myself a little bit of flexibility, because when I'm too rigid with my game ideas, things just don't work out very well. Sometimes I'll think something is really cool in my head or on paper, but then when I actually put it in the engine, it just doesn't work that well. Especially when it's something a little more unique and not something tried and true, like a dash, for example. You want to avoid overscoping. Overscoping is your biggest enemy. It's a bigger enemy than failure, bigger than imposter syndrome, or any fear that you might have. And you want to avoid it like the plague. Overscoping happens very quietly in the background and you might not even notice it, but it is a game killer. And now, the single most important piece of advice that I can give you is to join a game jam. Join several game jams. Game jams are magical and stressful and a lot of fun, and they will push you to your limit. I was talking to one of my Patreon supporters, and I will never forget what he said. He said that for his very first game jam, he learned more in that 1 week jam than he did in the 3 months before, when he was actually trying to learn stuff. Game jams force you to not overscope. You cannot make things too complex. You just get into that creative zone and you just make something. And even if you finish and your game kind of sucks, it doesn't matter. You still made a game. You made a full game that other people can play, which is really cool. And the last thing I want to say is, if you have no experience and you're wanting to make a game, don't fear failure. Failing is a part of the journey. Every single developer that you look up to has been right where you were at some point in the past. And putting pressure on yourself is just going to kill the fun. And video games are supposed to all be about fun. So I would say celebrate all the small victories, especially in the early days, and try to view any challenges that you come up against as opportunities to learn something new. That's all I got. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next week. Bye.